Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ramon Preston Show. This is the day that the Lord has made. We are rejoicing and we're glad in it. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the Ramon Preston Show. If you're coming on, joining us live today, please do me a quick favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly, everybody, and let them know your boy, my squad, we're live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. And again, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we're always rejoicing. We're always glad in it. Ladies and gentlemen, today on the Ramon Preston Show, I'm going to be talking to you again about the 10 steps to a creative real estate deal. And this is going to be steps 3 and 4 that we discussed today. If for some reason you miss yesterday's show on the 10 steps to a creative real estate deal, I talked about the first 2 steps. Today I'm going to talk about steps 3 and 4. So please be sure to have a pen, a notepad, or another device that you could take notes. And don't forget, if you have any questions throughout this live show, feel free to put the questions in the chat, in the comments, and my team and I will do the best we can to answer any of or all of your questions. So again, I want to say welcome to the Ramon Preston Show. If you don't know, now you know. I'm your host, Ramon Preston. And when we come live like we do here, we are live to share information with you. That's why we come live, to share information with you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to educate you, to empower you, to give you the tools that you need so that you could properly start, properly structure, and properly scale your business. Maybe you have a ministry, your income streams, and for those of you that are interested in real estate, we want to help you start, structure, and scale your wealth building dreams. So again, today's show is going to be part 2 of our discussion on the 10 steps to a creative real estate deal. If you missed yesterday's show, you definitely want to go back and watch the show. I gave you the first 2 steps. Step 1 was to generate the lead. You got to generate a lead. So that means you got to have a marketing campaign. That means you have to have a perfect seller profile. You want to know what type of properties you're looking for. You want to be able to target the sellers of those properties. You want to gather as much information as you can before you reach out to them so that you will know what their motivations are. It's all about generating the lead. Once you generate the lead, meaning that you start marketing, you start campaigning, you start knocking on doors, you start making calls, sending text messages. Once you start getting information or responses back, you then want to make the initial contact. That means you want to have a script, you want to have some type of seller questionnaire. This is what you're going to need, all right? So these are the first 2 steps. Generate the lead, make initial contact. I want you to keep in mind now, I'm talking about 10 steps to a creative real estate deal. So creative real estate is different than the conventional real estate investing, meaning that if you're just investing in real estate traditionally or conventionally, there's some creative nuances that I'm talking about that ain't going to apply to you, okay? But for those of you that want to get creative, meaning that you want to invest in real estate and you would prefer to do it in a way where it doesn't require a lot or none of your credit, none of your credentials, or a lot or none of your cash, then you want to follow these 10 steps. Again, step 1 was generate the lead. Step 2, make initial contact. And step 3, which is what I want to talk about today, steps 3 and 4. Step 3 is gather the facts. You want to gather the facts. Now, the good thing about everything I'm sharing with you is I do this. My team and I, we do this every day. This is what we do every day for our real estate investment company, okay? And most of what we do here every day is centered around making calls, sending text messages, emailing, knocking on doors, marketing, finding people, generating leads, doing whatever we need to do to provide our services to people. So again, the third step to your creative real estate investment deal is to gather the facts. So let's assume you've generated a lead. So that means you know what type of property you want. You know what your buy box is, what your investment criteria is. Let's assume you already have a profile of the type of seller that will sell the type of property you want to buy. Let's assume you know what some of their motivations are. Let's assume you start marketing and then you start gathering information like getting their names, their numbers, and their email addresses through strategies like skip tracing, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just need to reach out to us so that we can give you training and information and give you some courses so that you can learn this stuff. But then once you get the name, the number, and the email address and the address of the property, and you know some of the facts, now it's some of the facts about the profile of the property and the person who owns it. Now, step 3 after you've made initial contact is to gather the facts. So what we do is we have a certain type of real estate that we want to buy. Okay, I'm just giving my company as an example. We know what type of seller will sell that type of property we want to buy. We know where to find those types of properties and sellers. So we start campaigning to gather those lists of addresses. Once we get those addresses, we put that information inside of one of our investor-friendly platforms. There are many of them like Batch Leads, PropStream, PropWire, REI Pro. The list goes on and on. I got a whole lot of them, right? So once we drop that address inside of that investor-friendly platform, now we can do what they call skip trace. We can skip trace to find out what's the number associated, whose phone number is associated to that property, okay? Are there any email addresses? We can find out other important data when we're underwriting the deal, okay? And I won't talk about all that today, but I'm just showing you how step 1 and step 2 of generating the lead and making initial contact, how that plays out. So now that we have a number and an email address, we can make a call, we can start texting and emailing with the hope and expectation that someone will pick up the phone, talk to us, or respond back to us, okay? Once that happens, once that initial contact happens and someone is open to selling their home, now step 3 is we need to gather the facts. So if it's a creative real estate deal, there are certain facts you're going to have to gather, okay? So this step is going to require you to have what we call a physical or a digital seller's information form, okay? So you're going to need a seller's information form. A seller's information form. Now, on this seller's information form, it's going to cover everything you need to know to really help solve their problem. If you want an example of what a seller's information form looks like, let me give you my website that you can go to see it. Let's see what it is. RP. Let me see what that. I don't even know what the exact email address is. I think I do. I'm going to see if I'm correct. Okay, so if you want to see what an example of a seller's information form looks like for a creative real estate deal when you are at step 3 gathering the facts, oh, that ain't it? Let me see. I don't remember. I got so many different websites, I don't remember it all the time. So it's saying rpcapitalhomesolutions.com/seller. So you can actually go to rpcapitalhomesolutions.com/seller to see what our seller's information form looks like, because this is going to be a part of gathering the facts. If you're going to gather the facts, you got to know what facts you need to gather. Okay, so what are some of the most important facts you want to gather? The seller's personal situation and what they need. So that's a fact that you want to gather. Okay, again, if you want to see an example of what a seller's information form looks like, go to rpcapitalhomesolutions.com/seller. Now, again, if you generated the lead for the type of property that you want to buy, and you made initial contact and you're talking to the seller, if it's over the phone, if it's via email, or if it's text, you want to set up a phone call so that you could talk to them, or you want to set up an in-person visit. Doesn't always work that way. Most of the times you have to talk to them over the phone initially, okay? But when you're on the phone and they are open to hearing more about how you can solve their problem regarding them selling their home to you, this is where step 3 of gathering the facts are important. And you're going to either have this seller's information form as a part of your script, or you're going to have some type of digital format. So my team, they have a physical copy in front of them, but they can also go to our website to make sure that they are clear on what questions they need to ask. Because if my team brings me a property or a deal, I'm going to assume that they have already done step 2 and 3. Okay, they've already, we've generated the lead, obviously, because they have someone to call. They made initial contact, and then they started gathering the facts. I'm going to assume that, because if one of my team members come to me and say, okay, we got a property, but we don't have no information, then it's like, okay, you got to do step 3. So you have to gather the facts. The facts that you gather are going to be critical to you solving the seller's problem, all right, and properly negotiating the deal. So again, I'm not talking about the underwriting part yet, even though there is some preliminary underwriting you should have done when you generated the lead. All I'm talking about is step 3 of gathering the facts when you're on the phone talking to someone who's interested in selling their home, and they're talking to you about you potentially being the buyer, all right? So again, you can go take a look at what our seller's information form looked like, and it is an example of what a creative real estate form, what a creative real estate deal questionnaire would be. So the questions that we're asking are questions that relate to a creative real estate deal. So it's going to be different than a conventional real estate deal, all right? So again, what are some of the facts that you want to gather? Number 1, you want to gather the facts to find out what the seller's personal situation is. What do they need? That should be the first and most important question. Like, what is your situation? What you going through? What's going on? That's when you're going to find out, okay, they may have to relocate. They may, they're in the military and they're being deployed, or they're behind on their mortgage and they don't want to be foreclosed on, or they went through a divorce, or somebody got sick. It's like life happens. Life happens. And when life starts happening, people have to make decisions. And when life happens to someone who owns assets like a home, they may have to just sell the home to move on, to get out of that situation. So it's a different type of situation, but you should always, especially as a creative real estate investor or as a deal finder or wholesaler who's working with creative real estate investors, you should always have empathy and compassion and concern to make sure that your questions that you are asking to gather facts are questions that are sincerely questions that show you're concerned about what that person is going through. So the most important facts to gather are the seller's personal information, situation, and what they need. Like, what do you need? What do you need to get out of this situation? Now, can you deliver on that all the time? No, you might not be able to deliver on that all the time, but at least you're asking, like, what do you need to get out of this situation? What do you need to walk away with? There are questions that you should be asking. The second most important fact is you should share with them your solution to the problem and how it works. So that's one of the first things that we do when we talk to a seller. at step 3, when we've made contact, whether it's the initial contact or we set an appointment to follow up and we have a chance to talk with them, we're going to ask about their personal situation. We got to hear what their story is, what they're going through, what they need, and then we can tell them what our solution to the problem is and how our solution works. Here's what we can do. I'm more direct, so I'm gonna get to the point to explain them what we can do. You also want to make sure that the seller understands and that the seller agrees to the specific type of deal that you are presenting to them. So for example, if it's a creative finance deal, if it's a subject to type transaction, which those two are the typical ways you're going to do some type of creative deal, then you need to make sure they understand what you're saying. You need to make sure that they agree on it. Because let's say, for example, if it's a subject to transaction, then you need to make sure they understand what that means. All right. Of course, you're going to have some disclosures in your documents that they sign, but you need to make sure they're clear. I've seen too many people get into conversations with sellers and they ain't making it clear. I've seen wholesalers, and I say this respectfully to wholesalers, but I've seen wholesalers not be upfront with the seller because they want to get a contract. And then they come to an investor like me and they try to, assign the contract, but they didn't really communicate to the seller what the real deal is. And then once I, the investor, get involved, I'm asking certain questions because I'm gathering facts from the wholesaler, and I'm realizing that you ain't really communicate to the seller the truth about what this is. All right. So again, you wanna make sure that you gather the facts of the seller's understanding of this type of deal and their agreement to that deal. Now, again, if it's a creative real estate deal, okay, for all of my creative REI individuals out there, you're going to have to find out what the seller's arrears are. If they're behind on their payment, you need to know information like what their Pt.2 is, their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, or in other words, what their monthly payments are. You want to know if they know what the loan balance is. Do they have the recent bank statement, a mortgage statement? Do they have an online account or portal set up? What their lenders? You've already gathered some of this information in your preliminary underwriting. However, you want to find out from them what they have and what they know. This is how you gather the facts, okay? So again, if you have any questions on these steps that I'm sharing with you, feel free to put the questions in the comments. And as I said before, my team and I will do our best to answer any questions. So that's step 3, gathering the facts. And again, we have a sample physical copy of our information form for sellers inside of our creative real estate course. But if you just want to go look at a digital version of it, just go to my website, rpcapitalhomesolutions.com/seller, just to see what are the type of questions are we asking sellers based on the type of acquisition strategy we have as creative real estate investors, okay? So step 4, this is the second step for today. Step 4, and this is a very, very critical step, and I'll break it down a little bit just so that you can understand it. Step 4 is underwrite and I'm going to use 2 different words, and analyze the deal. Underwrite and analyze the deal. Now, in order for you to really understand my process for underwriting and analyzing deals and comping properties and all of that, you're probably going to have to be inside of my course or my mentorship program, come to our meetups that we have regularly so that you can familiarize yourself with it. But to simplify it for the purpose of today's show, when I say underwrite a deal, I'm referring to the fact that you need to identify with the financial risk involved with acquiring that property, and you need to quantify those risks as acquisition costs, okay? So if you're a student of mine or if you're in my mentorship program, you should already know, even before you begin step one of generating the lead, a part of generating the lead is going to be for you to do what we call a preliminary underwriting process. There are certain data points you want to see. So for example, when I'm at step one of generating a lead for the type of real estate we want to buy, when I find the type of property, I'm going to put that property inside of certain platforms, and I'm going to already start gathering financial data, metrics, to figure out if this is a deal financially. Does it make financial sense? And that might take maybe 30 to 45 seconds. I'll look at the loan balance or the purchase price. I'll look at the ARV, the after repair value. I'll look at a few comps to see if I bought this property for that, how much could I sell it for? If I bought it and hold it, how much could I rent it for? What would the note be or the mortgage be? So once I get 3 or 4 data points, this is before I make initial contact. I already know when I'm generating the lead through preliminary underwriting that this would be a good deal if I make initial contact and the seller wants to do business with me. So I'm doing that before step one. This is how I teach my mentees to do it, so that when you're reaching out to people, you already know if anybody calls you back from a mailer you mail out, from an email, from a text, from a voice message, if anybody responds back to you, you know it's going to be an opportunity for you to do a deal because you've already went through a preliminary underwriting process. A lot of people don't do that. They just hoping and guessing and trying to make sense of something that don't exist. I want to already know it's a deal, and it don't take that long for you to do a preliminary underwriting. It could take 30 to 45 seconds per property if you know how to do it good enough, okay? So then once we make contact and we gather the facts, step 4 is now I got to circle back around, because think about it. I've talked to the seller. The seller has given me more information about their situation. They've given me more confidence to know if in fact it is going to be a deal. You could pretty much sense or determine if you're going to move forward based on the call. If they're open and they're like, yeah, this sounds good, even if you haven't given them solid numbers yet, you know, or have a sense of knowing that this could be a potential deal. Now, once I gather more information from them, I may find out something I didn't know. Okay, they may know the real loan balance. They may know the exact monthly mortgage payment. They may know exactly how far behind they are, okay? Those facts are going to help me go back and underwrite and analyze the deal again, because now by step 4, I'm thinking, wow, I could actually own this property in the next 2 weeks or in the next month or the next week and a half, or however long it takes. So now I'm thinking, wow, I really want to go over my numbers and underwrite it, and I want to analyze it. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of how underwriting is a little different from analyzing. Just know basically what I want to do is look at the bigger picture of me purchasing this house, the area it's in. Is it a strong area? Is the neighborhood good? And remember, I hadn't gone to visit the property. That's another step. All I'm doing is taking the information I gathered from talking to the seller, the owner, and now I'm trying to look at what are the costs associated. Maybe they told me how much money they want to walk away from the deal with, how much money they would like to make. Now I can start doing the math. I can start looking at my cost of acquisition. So there are 2 things I want to look at. I want to look at my cost of acquisitions, and I want to look at my cost of disposition. So that means I want to put a dollar amount together to see how much would it cost for me to get into this home if I bought it. What is that total dollar amount? Now, am I going to be 100% accurate? No, because I haven't visited the property. I don't really know how much the repairs or renovations are going to be. I don't know if an inspection is going to show something that I don't see. I don't know if we do a title search, if liens are going to come back on the property. I don't know none of that, but I'm just kind of doing a post-contact, that's what I call it, a post-contact underwriting as step 4, just to get a better feel of like roughly how much could it take for me to get in there. But then I also want to look at my cost of disposition, meaning that when I dispose the property, am I going to rent it or am I going to flip it? And it could be a dozen other things, maybe 100 other things you could do in between. It could be a lease option. You might be sophisticated and do a wrap. There's so many other things you can do, but just to simplify it, you may either rent it or you may either flip it. So now I want to look at my cost of acquisitions, how much it costs for me to get into this deal. So there are certain breakdowns, there are certain things, and I have a underwriting worksheet that I could give you so that you can use to see what are all my costs or what do I project my costs to be. But then I can look at, okay, if I rent it, how much money can I make every month to rent? Now I can put that against what the monthly mortgage payment is. What would be my cash spread? But I can also look at my cost of disposition. How much would it cost for me to flip it? If I sold it, how much can I sell it for? And if I subtracted all of my cost of acquisition plus the payoff to the bank, what would be my equity spread? What would I walk away with? Now, just in step 4, I have a good idea of how juicy or how dry this deal actually is. So I'm going to stop right there at step 4. I just gave you step 3 and step 4 to the 10 steps for a creative real estate deal. I would love to know, where are you as a real estate investor? Are you at a place where you understand the importance of underwriting deals? Do you know how to underwrite deals? Do you understand all the dynamics and the numbers behind real estate investing? If you don't know this stuff, guess what? At some point, you have to find somebody and align yourself with somebody that you can trust, that can teach you, who's doing it themselves, to show you exactly how you can start becoming a successful real estate investor. And that's one of the reasons why I am offering to my community our Millionaire Mentorship Program. So what I decided to do was, I decided to take our Millionaire Mentorship Program, which is a 1-year coaching program. It is an educational program. So it includes access to our Millionaire Blueprint, which is our educational program, all video-based. We teach you about holding companies, asset management, systems, processes. We teach you about finances, creative tax strategies. We have a whole entire suite of educational training courses on real estate investing, creative real estate investing. We show you exactly what we do in our real estate investment company. But inside of our mentorship program, you not only get the courses, but you have access to our private calls. We do a weekly coaching call. We have quarterly workshops, and we have regular real estate investing meetups where we come together in person. We underwrite deals. We pull leads off lists. We role play with certain scripts, and we make calls and contacts to work out deals. And I, as the mentor, as the leader of my community, I'm backing and supporting the people who are in my community who want to take their real estate businesses to the next level. But I don't just teach the real estate side. I teach the business structure side. I teach the system and process side. I teach the financial, creative tax strategy side, because all that plays into you being successful as a real estate investor. So if you have any questions about how you need to get started or where do you need to get started based on where you are in your life, in your business, or in your investing, and you think this 1-year Millionaire Mentorship Program can be of value to you, but you just need more answers or more information, I want you to call or text the word mentor to one of these numbers, okay? 678-276. You can screenshot this, 678-276-8253 or 8556. So if you screenshot or write that number down, those two numbers, all you have to do is call or text the word mentor to one of those numbers. We're going to reach back out to you. We'll answer any questions you have about holding companies, asset management, systems, processes for your existing business, creative tax strategies, real estate investing, and we can direct you on what products or programs within our ecosystem that work best for you. So I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you learned something from today's show. Again, this is part 2 of our discussion on the 10 steps to a creative real estate deal. We've only gotten through 4 steps. Yesterday, we went through steps 1 and 2. Today, steps 3 and 4. And tomorrow, I'm looking forward to steps 5 and 6, unless we are at a property, which we're scheduled to be at a property, previewing it, and we're not able to make it here live. If that's the reason, then you won't see me live. You're probably going to see a replay, but hopefully we'll make it back. And if we don't, we'll make sure we make it up so you can get all 10 steps, which, by the way, these 10 steps are already in our workbook. We teach them in our workshop. They're in our courses. We talk about them in our meetups. So you have access to it. We have all this information available. So we love you, appreciate you. Thank you for watching today's show. Leave a comment. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was. Subscribe to our YouTube page. We're over 12,000 subscribers right now. Follow us and be sure to tag Lolly Dolly everybody and let them know the Ramon Preston Show is live. We're dropping game and we're helping you get to your next level. Till next time, I'll